let me just kick this off because there have been some changes on the BACN board, and this is the BACN community, and it's really happened over the last quarter. So I just want to announce the updates here. Ginny Cool, who's been on the board for probably 3 years, she's signed up for some new courses which conflict directly with BACN, so she's had to withdraw from the board. We're going to miss her. She was very helpful for the time she was on the board. Also, it saddens me to announce that Angela Duns is also transitioning off the board. Angela has been, she's a LinkedIn expert. Her business has grown a lot over the pandemic to the point where she needs to clone herself somehow, and has to make the hard choice of where to spend her time, and has told us that, she needs to transition off as well. And I think Angela's been on for a couple of years now, and all the programs I think we've had for 2021 have come through Angela. She has just been a complete rock star, coming up with wonderful recommendations for speakers. And Judy Baker is also leaving. I mean, this is a hard thing for me to announce, because Judy has been, she's been with BACN forever. We end our 19th year next month, and I think, Judy, you've been on the board for, I'm guessing 16 of the years, I don't know, but almost the entire time that BACN's been around, and has been an unbelievable contributor. I don't know how many creating connections you've led. I don't know how many, life hacks you've done. You've been the MC forever. I mean, a million times. She was our secretary. She was the anchor of our program committee for years. And she just has this creativity and inspiration that we all love and are going to miss tremendously. So just wanted to announce that. Now, on the other hand, we're sad, but life moves on. We understand. They'll still be part of the BACN community, just won't be on the board. But Craig Harrison has joined the board. So, and Craig has presented to BACN a couple of times. He's been involved for many, many years, although I think he's only been coming, sporadically, but now he's on the board, and right out the gate, he's got a bunch of recommendations for speakers and things. And we're so happy to have you on board, Craig. So that's the changes. That's all the updates. So thank you, Judy, for making the time, and thanks for being the MC today.
Thank you. And I'm trying not to cry, so. But I don't need to cry because I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be working on some other stuff. So
Judy, why are you trying not to cry? Why are you trying not to cry?
Because I'm the MC today, and I'd like to be a little bit more cheerful about this. So let me just rock on from where I had planned to go. All right.
Sorry, Judy.
That's a toughie. All right, there we go. One of the things that happened the first time I presented at BACN, I did something a bit unusual, and I'm going to repeat it. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. And that's what I wish for everybody who's here. You had a choice this morning. You decided to join us. Now, you could have stayed in bed. That looks like a lot of fun too. Or maybe it was the smell of bacon that got you in the door. What I know is we come together because our friends are here, we share ideas, and we have a lot of fun. And with that, we learn things. Today, we're going to learn about automation in our businesses, and everyone here benefits because this is a community. If you only got one good idea today, wow, that's one more piece of the puzzle in your toolkit to make your life and your business better. And this is how I have felt at every BACN meeting, that I'm with my friends, I'm with people full of energy, life, and happiness, and it is a powerful feeling. And I hope you're feeling that way too. because here we go. BACN is here to improve the practice and business success for consultants through relationship building and programs. And if you'll notice the order of our mission statement, relationships come first. And I truly believe that. The people here who are successful, it's through the people they know. And this is our agenda for today. I'm Judy Baker. I'm your ringmaster, and we're going to have a powerful meeting with Creating Connections from Angela Dunz. Janet Schieferdecker is going to lead us through a life hack. And then we have the inimitable Mary Sue Dahill. She's going to show us how to create intentional business with digital tools and automation, and hang around for the after party. We'll have some time to talk. Mary Sue is someone I met through Angela Dunz, the great connector. And Mary Sue Dahill is the founder and CEO of Work Smarter Digital. It's an all-in-one solution that reduces complexity and streamlines systems, scales your impact. She's a master of creating order out of chaos and hasn't met a hot mess she hasn't been able to handle. She lives by the Go Giver Code, and she's very active in entrepreneurial groups. She gives back by sponsoring women-focused entrepreneur organizations, including Women's CEO Roundtable, the Awe Summit, and Success Through Style Summit. She lives in Arlington, Virginia, with her husband, 2 teenagers, and 2 mini dachshunds. She's right around the corner from her parents and mother-in-law. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Sue, and we're going to rock our intentional business.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I have known about BACN, honestly, for years. And I think I learned about it from Erica, who has been a member, because she and I went to a graduate certificate program at Stanford together. I want to say 10 years ago or so. So a really long time ago. So I'm so excited to be here. So I'm going to start with, I created a little download for you with the presentation and a resource we'll use later. So I'm going to put the link in the chat there for you to get the download. And then we'll start. All right, so creating an intentional business with digital tools and automation. Love this topic. I think you got enough about me, but here are my dogs, and my crazy family, which I kind of love a little chaos. It is lunchtime here, so hopefully you don't hear lots of noise. But this is kind of the Work Smarter framework that I work from, which is that we need to have kind of a profit mindset, because that helps us make decisions on how we do things in our business. And having a boutique brand, which is very intentional. And that's what we're going to focus on today. And then kind of the third component for really small businesses is an all-in-one solution, because it does streamline everything. So again, this is in the slides you will get. So to me, what an intentional business is purpose-driven and purposeful. It is person-centric as well, lots of P's. And that you're very intentional with your client experience. So does that resonate with everyone here? All right. And to me, what you're really trying to do is to set a standard through being intentional with your client experience. Set a schedule, which is why you use automation to make it just happen on your intentional plan. And then it really does set you free to focus on things that you know, either to grow your business, maybe you want to spend more time with family and friends, whatever it is, but it sets you free to do those sorts of things. So these are elements of an intentional experience. And I'll say it again, please, you know, interrupt with a question at any time. We do have a breakout, which is really the meat of it. And then we'll come back to kind of discuss anything you learned from that, questions. And usually I get a lot of questions about the digital tools themselves. So I work that in, and I do love questions. All right, so there are 3 elements to a intent, a user experience that's intentional. And the first is personalization. So I know we all have seen this. It's obviously using someone's name in communications. It is also segmenting communications for the right people. And it's tailoring offers, tailoring programs based on the person. And this doesn't all have to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Automated at all. And the brands that I think do personalization really well are like Kimpton Hotel. I don't know if, I'm assuming they have them in San Francisco, or like the Ritz-Carlton. But I thought personalization is such a good one to show a success and fails at. So these are some personalization fails. I've covered up the stuff, so I'm not really being, forgot her name here. Sorry about that. But this is an email I got. I wasn't something I solicited. I don't recall, registering it for, but it's like, state your name for the record. And this is like, it was like, I don't even know how to say the name. It was almost like this was part of the automation, missed an opportunity to include my name, and then totally focuses on who they are. And then this one is, obviously workshop tomorrow, so I must have registered for it. I got missing an opportunity to include my name. So I'm sure we have all seen where personalization has failed in many ways, and it just sets up a friction point with that particular person or business. So these are personalization successes. I think this was a promotional email, but they got my name right. And I am a client of Sparent, and this is their client office hours. So it was very segmented to what they do and how they relate to me as a client. But again, I have seen this where I am a client of people, and they're just, since I have a 2-name first name, sometimes I get just Mary. And I know that they're not paying attention to their system and to me. That's what it says to me. Should I be paying attention to what's in the chat, Shelley, or no? Okay.
No, I'm taking,
Okay.
I'm paying
Thank you.
attention for you.
All right. So the second is surprise and delight. And this to me is very much about the experience that you create in your business. And it could also be just the feeling, or the culture. It could be everything about your business, but it's about exceeding expectations of your clients, improving the kind of overall experience that you have with your clients. And it's that offer of spontaneous kindness, gratitude, and recognition that really creates that surprise and delight. And there is no catch for your customer. So it's not surprising them with a great offer that's tailored to them. It's surprising them with something of value to them. Like my Kimpton Ritz-Carlton example, where that they know it's your anniversary and they've left a small bottle of champagne in your room, or they know that you have young kids and they leave you a game or something like that that they think would really resonate with that age group. Something that's like, wow, isn't that neat? They took some time to recognize who I am. So these are some surprise and delight. I'm not showing failures because I think one failure is just not to do it. But these are some surprise and delight that I do, which is send a little welcome email when people start. And then after 6 months, I send out this rocket book, which if you don't know what that is, you should check it out, because it's a great way to help you take notes and keep them digital so that you don't have a ton of paper on your desk. But I think it's a fun gift. So I do get a lot of positive feedback. So you can see they posted this on their Facebook, Instagram channels. So they loved it. Intentionalities, which is what we're really all talking about. And that to me is being incredibly intentional about your messaging and branding across, from everything you send personally in like a Gmail or through your email marketing tool to your website. Being consistent and intentional, creating that client experience that's intentional. And I'm talking about from kind of beginning to end and manifesting that intent in action. Because a lot of people, we all have this we have an intent to be intentional, but then we leave it to chance. And since I'm an automation person, I see this a lot, right? Because they come to me and they're like, well, I don't want to automate because I have a high touch experience. And what's happening is that high touch experience is sporadic. It's ad hoc. And so not every client is actually experiencing this high touch experience. So blending automation, and a high touch experience will really improve that. So this is just a little bit of what I do with people is I lay out their sequences and plan out what is the client action, what is the automated response, what is possibly your manual response, because that always happens in here, and then what is maybe like a surprise and delight, which is this pink here, so that we have a plan for how you're going to automate your workflow. And so prospect sequence, and then like new client getting started sequence, which is making the final sale. They made a decision of some kind. You send them some sort of a welcome email. They sign an agreement, make a deposit, and do whatever else to get started. But if you haven't laid out your sequence like this in some form, and it could be written on a piece of paper, but you're not being as intentional as I think you could be, and you're not identifying opportunities for incorporating some surprise and delight, incorporating personalization, and also being really intentional about what information you want to collect about your contacts, your clients, your prospects. So 3 high touch experiences to get right are follow-up always, but especially during when you're doing kind of trust building, like following up during the sales process, following up with a prospect that's interested in you. So follow-up is key. Something that a lot of people overlook is the actual onboarding of a new client. So someone becomes your client, it's the moment they're really excited to be working with you. And then if they hear crickets for days from you, it can really diminish and, tarnish that initial goodwill and excitement that they had. So the onboarding to me is really easy to do and super helpful to the whole relationship. So it's like, what are the next steps? What material or content should they be preparing for your kickoff call? Have they actually scheduled the kickoff call? What else? Do you need to give them access to portals, to courses? Those sorts of things are all part of the onboarding process. And then the third one is when you're transitioning your relationship from your closing down the engagement or the program ended, and now you're transitioning them to being a raving fan. So just that, even if they chose not to renew with you, you want to leave on good terms. It's that whole don't burn bridges sort of thing. But that's another opportunity to really transition with class and grace. And it will leave a really great impression with whomever it is.
Mary Sue, there was a question in the chat going back to your last slide in terms of what do you mean by intentional? Is that focus? Is it purpose alignment?
I mean intentional in that you have a plan. So I don't know if that really answers focus or purpose alignment. It should be both, really. A lot of people do not lay out the steps of their client experience with the business. Does that answer? Or the person can come off mute if they want.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right, so we're gonna have a breakout intentionally. So I think you said 3 to 4, we're gonna be in a group. And we'll be in there for, was it 7 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to do is define your follow-up process after having a discovery call or sales call, whatever you call it. What is your follow-up process with a prospect that wasn't an immediate yes? Like maybe they said, they didn't say, no, you're not a fit for me. They were like, well, I'll think about it. Or, I've got to talk to somebody about it. You know, whatever the reason, they did not say, yes, get me started right now. What I find with my clients, and I'm not saying I'm perfect either, this is something that I am also in the process of setting up. I had one way of doing it. Now I'm, changing it. So, but how many times are you following up? When are you following up? And then what is the focus of each follow-up? Because nobody wants the email that says, and if you downloaded the resource thing, don't cheat and read ahead. I should have said that. Because it does include the follow-up process that I recommend. So, but I want to know what you want to do, what would help build the relationship. And it should not be, hey, checking in on your decision every single time you follow up, right? Because we all are about creating a relationship, educating and informing, and guiding them down the process to making a decision to work with us. But I think a follow-up process that continues to build the relationship is better. And what I don't think I finished my statement is, but most of my clients do not have a follow-up system. They don't have one thought out. It's always that thing that you don't do because you're so focused on the people that are doing business with you. But when you start doing a follow-up process, it's almost like the low-hanging fruit. They were obviously interested in you. And then, they get busy because they wanted to think about it and they forgot. So so that's what we're going to spend 7 minutes in breakout rooms. I would just like you to answer those questions. How many follow-ups would you do? What's the timing on those follow-ups? And then what would be the focus of each follow-up?
See, Mary Sue, this is Shelley.
Yes.
There were 2 questions, and just to
Okay.
let you know, I put these questions in the chat so everybody could see them in their breakout rooms. But one of the questions was, do you use HubSpot? That's one question.
Yeah, so digital tools, we'll actually dig into that a little bit at the end. I do not. I have my own software product, which I call Work Smarter CRM. It's an all-in-one software solution that I think is really what a business needs as far as just all the tools in one place.
Okay, and the second question is any tips about conversion from client to raving fan?
On how to make them a raving fan?
Yes. I think that's a whole other, that's like a half-hour discussion.
Sorry,
Well,
no,
I can, yep.
So it was my question, and it's more like, so your client engagement is done, and hopefully they are a raving fan. But do you have any tips on how do you keep going with that relationship if they're done, like they're not going to buy any more from you?
Right. Well, I think it was about like, that's where great time to add that surprise and delight, like a card, or a small gift of recognition, something like that.
Okay.
Also, great time to ask for feedback about the experience and ask for that testimonial or Google review, to keep, keeping someone kind of in the loop, staying top of mind. If you do a newsletter, obviously reincorporate them into that. And depending on what your business is, you could have like an alum type newsletter or offer workshops to them because they're easier to re-engage with. I do a lot of workshops like this. I like putting on little virtual summits. They're not so little, but they're virtual summit. That's something that I would also invite. I'm big into the edu events. So that's
Okay.
kind of my.
That sounds interesting, actually. Thank you.
All right, are we ready to kick off the breakouts?
Yes, we're ready
Yeah.
on my end. And I will get more into the digital tools after. So, all right, well, I'd love to, if somebody wants to share what they came up with or what was helpful to them to think about their follow-up. Sheila, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I have a sometimes process that I apply sporadically, often don't. And the three of us in our breakout, we're all in a similar boat. Excuse me. What I struggle with is knowing how much resource to put into that, because sometimes saying the examples you gave are, I need to think about it, or I need to discuss it with so-and-so, is because they're not saying no. And that's not going to change. And so how do you assess that? And yeah, that's.
So how do you assess if they're definitely never going to say yes?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's no, there's no 100% here.
Yeah,
100%, but I've stopped putting resource into those because there's very few of them that actually end up turning around.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not a sales coach, and I feel like that's a qualifying question. I would probably ask more qualifying questions before the discovery call. Not like a whole book, but what's something specific about your clients that are similar, and ask a question around it. Might start informing who's likely to move forward. Anyone else? I'm glad you found it useful. Mary?
One of the things that came up for us was I realized if I look back at how long the sales cycle is to get me to sign on, and who did I eventually go with, and what did they do to stay in touch,
Whoa.
Things got a lot clearer. So I got 3 quotes for my website, and I held on to them for like 8 or 9 months before I went, oh, now I know what I want from a website. Now I know which is the right person to go with, and could go from there. And that person stayed in touch with me the whole time, and other services. So it was just helpful for me to borrow from what I've experienced that worked well for me.
That's a great way to evaluate it. Yeah. What did you like? Because you're probably trying to attract people that you like to work with as well. So Lisa, what is your question? I see your hands raised.
I liked that. I really liked that, because I get inundated with people trying to reach out to me and sell me stuff and whatever. And I just, getting rid of them. I really liked the part of it where you said about what is your focus of your follow-up. I mean, my follow-ups have been extremely random. So this is a great reminder to automate and do them more often, because I was saying in the group, sometimes I don't follow up for 2 years. I've been looking through my emails like, oh, I got an email, I was talking to that person about a possible project. I should follow up. And of course, by then it's way too late. So.
Yes. Well, and I think for me, it's a struggle too, because I want to do it in a personal way since I automate. I try to not over automate, but at the same time, I then don't do it. So.
Exactly. I mean, I guess you've got to automate the outward end, but also the inward end, right? So that you remind yourself to, I should send something personal to that person. So it's not just generic.
Right. Well, this is the little document that came with it. So I've laid out what I am in the process of setting up myself, which is, sending a question follow-up, something simple, like, do you have any more questions for me? This is assuming if you followed up with like a proposal type thing. This is a little different, where there's been no response to whatever kind of sales, conversation you had. So sending that within a couple of days, and then a how-to follow-up is the way I'm thinking, since what I do is, automation, digital tool stuff. So providing some sort of educational resource about 21 days later, and then just a progress follow-up. This again applies to me, people coming to me because they feel overwhelmed, they need digital tools. So 2 months later, if they still haven't taken any progress, that's kind of going to be my posing of the question is, so what CRM did you decide to go with? And if they're like, still no, it's a good time to offer, again, just a meeting. So take a look at this as just one suggestion. And Craig asked if I did CX stuff, and the answer is no. I've worked in software development most of my career, and worked with CX people, so they kind of like rubbed off on me, but I'm not a professional CX. So we've already done the discussion. I would love it if you decide on what you might take action on today, but definitely tomorrow, just put it down on your calendar, your task board, wherever, because I really do like my presentations to be action oriented for you to improve your business in some way. So, so when should you be automating? Sorry, that's not a sentence, but that's what it is. When automating, you should be deliberate and incorporate those human touches. You should be intentional by mapping out the entire experience, and you should be realistic. And this goes to the whole follow-up. If you are overcommitting your time on, activities that are either very intensive or you're always just going to be putting last and not do, those are opportunities to me to automate. So but be realistic about what you will really take action on. Some people are great. If it's on their list of things to do, they do it that day. I am definitely not one of them. That's why I like to automate things. When should you automate in your business? So this model here is not mine. It is from Les McCohen's book, Predictable Success, which I love. It's looking at your business from an operations perspective. And this is his business life cycle. So early struggle is when you're just starting out. Linda, the Autumn, I can't remember the name, but you're in early struggle, really just defining and refining who you serve, what you do, how you say it, all that kind of fun stuff. Fun is when you start getting people paying for it, it's consistent, people are seeing you as valuable. And then there's this whitewater where you've got so much work, or you're growing your business and now you are kind of overwhelmed. Your systems are not streamlined. They're not automated in any way. Maybe you don't even have any systems. So you're experiencing a lot of that chaos. So really the best time to start automating is the middle of fun, not the beginning, but the middle of fun. You will start to feel it. And that's when you should be looking at tools that will help you create those systems that you need.
Mary Sue, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
What are the tasks you do not recommend automating?
Do not recommend automating. Well, I think the actual sales conversation for sure. I mean, I try to automate almost everything. I think if you're asking if there's like a struggle with the business itself, you're having some problem, you should always be reaching out personally. Trying to think of what not to automate. I think really personalized recognition is always better if it's a little bit more actual human touch, like a card or an email that is not coming from your system, because people can tell, even no matter how much we try to make the email connected to your business, it's never going to look like it's just from them. So those are, I don't know that those are great examples of what not to automate, but that's what I got.
There's another question. Have you found a way to easily move people from a LinkedIn connection request to email?
So there are scraping tools. I am not a LinkedIn expert. I think Angela would be the better one. I know that there are LinkedIn scraping tools which are not really allowed. So that's one. Two is if you put in an online appointment scheduling link, that is probably very easy to, say, hey, I'd love to, meet with you. If they meet with you and you use an online appointment scheduler, you can connect that into your system, or it is part of the system already. Offering them, like I did for you, the little resource, having it have a little place for them to put their name and email in to receive it. So I try to push them into a form, I guess is what I'm saying, so that I get that information. Also, once they are to email, so this is where these are all examples where they're having to take an action. So I think that is the best way to do it, where you're opting them in to receive something. Yes, you're right, Millie, this automating surprise and delight. Although there are ways to automate it with like, I don't know if you all have heard of mailbox power, but that's one way to add in some surprise and delight. All right, so this hodgepodge of all the tools is where most people are, where you have a bunch of different tools and you have to then figure out how to connect them all. And this can really break down your intentional client experience if you're not having them talk to one another. For example, someone schedules an appointment with you using me, but you never transfer their contact information over into your email marketing, so they're not on your newsletter, and you haven't opted them in, first of all, to be on your newsletter. So I see that a lot, where people they've collected this list and then they just assume all these people want their newsletter. That's not really appropriate. You do want to, yes, mailbox power is an automated system, but it sends, like, here's a mug I received from someone, sends fun gifts. So
And also, do you recommend Calendly?
well, I love Calendly. Yes, all of these are great tools. So Calendly, Acuity, and what, I don't know if you all know, I have my own CRM. I'm not saying it's the only one, but it does have all of these tools in it. So these are tools similar, where they have a lot of features in it. Active Campaign is one. Angie was asking for tools that are built for small businesses. Active Campaign is a good one. I am not a fan of MailChimp. You have to be on the paid version to have all of these features here, where you actually have automation. Ontraport is another one. Kartra, Kajabi, just giving you the names here. Keep, Infusionsoft, and ClickFunnels. So my belief is that you should have an all-in-one solution if you're starting to get more than one digital tool. Most people start off with just an online appointment scheduling tool, and I personally prefer Calendly. Acuity is also a great one, but those are the two big ones. But once you're trying to do regular email and you have an online appointment scheduling tool, and you want to keep track of your contacts somehow, that's when you're starting to need more than one tool. You're probably at 4 or 5, and that's when you should be looking at getting an all-in-one solution, because you can automate all of those touch points, and everything is already talking to each other. So, seeing questions. Yes. So this is one of my Edu events I was talking about, Education in Action, Power Users Conference. The goal, so this is, it's very inexpensive because I'm just starting my promotion process for it. It's going to be end of April, but if you'd like to come, I'm going to have an expert come and talk about how to activate your list, which, as I said, a lot of people create a list and they never talk to them. So how do you really create that engaged focused conversation with your clients in a way that's legal, like you're following CAN spam rules. And then we're going to have some demonstrations from people that have used digital tools and how they, they had a business problem, how they used them, how they automated them, and the outcome, because my focus again is I want people that attend to have the ideas and inspiration on how to incorporate digital tool and automation in their business. So you don't have to be on my tool to get a benefit out of it. It will apply to any tool that has a robust automation in it. Oh, I see a question, sorry.
Oh.
These are prices per month when you have, yes, 25 contacts in your system, or 2,500, sorry. That was just to get them all on kind of a similar amount of similar comparison chart, because it is hard to get a comparison. Thank you, Judy. All right, and this is, me. You can contact me, email. I do have a Facebook group. I'm happy to talk with you about your digital tools. Like I said, I have a Work Smarter consult, which talk about what tools you're using and what would be a good fit for you. If my tools are fit, that's awesome, but I don't actually recommend it for everyone. So just as a resource. And that's it. So any other questions people have? Oh, Janet, I'll put the link in there. Sorry, I didn't even mention you should use your camera to look at the QR code.
You can reshare the screen for a second too.
Oh, okay.
And also there was a question, how do you sign up for the conference?
Yeah.
Yes. So
And what did you build your presentation in? What format?
Canva. This is Canva. So for this QR code, if you open up your camera on your phone, it'll open up the URL to sign up for the conference if you're interested. This, just so you know, I love QR codes. Everyone should love them now that we're doing the social distance thing, but I made this in Canva. It's a free QR code within Canva, and I'll show you how to do it, because I was paying for QR codes, but if you click on the little more, and I think it's on the free version too, you click on the QR code here, then you just stick in your URL.
Perfect follow-up, because I showed how to use Canva last month. And with the presentations, it's so awesome.
Yes, it is awesome. All right.
When you started setting up your system, what did you find was easy and what kind of got you stuck?
I think if you're building it organically, where you're like, well, maybe I'd like to do this and maybe I like to do that, that makes it really hard because you get yourself like kind of spaghetti really quickly. So I think drawing,
okay.
Yeah, drawing out your steps is important. And there's like 5 main ones, right? There's a follower that becomes a contact. So through some sort of an opt-in, what's that workflow? A contact who is now a prospect. So how do they become get on your calendar, whatever your sales process is. The prospect to a paid client. So just that little window, and then your actual client engagement. And then the final one is client to raving fan. Those are the 5, I think, workflows you need to think through.
Yeah.
Craig, you're asking all the behind the scenes. This is my grandfather's violin. Each of us got one. Any other questions? Like what, Angie, I hope that gave you some ideas on other tools to be looking at. I will put this into the chat here. Now, my tool is not on here, but I don't think that's terrible, but it is a great resource. G2.com is a software review site, and the reviews are all done by other users. That's like their main selling point. But what I love about g2.com is that if you go there, you'll see a bunch of options in a category. If you typed in online appointment scheduling, you would see all the other options, and it just, for research purposes, you can go to one place and look at them. And it will do a comparison of features to some degree.
Oh, and there was a question too. I actually put in the link so that you can get the download of the slides and the resources. And Mary Sue is very clever because, well, no, I am really solid about this. She's clever because if you want it, you're going to put in your email address so that she can have you in her database. But of course you can unsubscribe. But I recommend that you do put yourself in her sphere of influence because she knows the best people to connect with.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Hey, Mary Sue, this is Erica. I have a
Hi.
question. Hi. So I know you had said it's so important to map out your client experience and the 4 or 5 different paths of how that would look. And I'm assuming that's the first step you would take before helping someone figure out, okay, of the tools they have, what tools to keep or what tools they're missing in order to really try to automate things. So how would that look with, engaging you? Could that just be a one-time thing, or is this a retainer? Like, being very cost conscientious, I kind of just want, like, okay, go do this.
Yeah, so my packages have a, like a DIY. All of my packages have all of the features in them because it's not to me about the features. So the DIY is someone that wants to learn it. I do, and then my other ones include what I call a virtual CRM assistant. So you provide the content, we will build the automations for you. That's where I find my clients have the biggest struggle, is building it. But for all my clients, I have about an hour and a half onboarding where we do that kind of analysis of what tools you need, what are you getting rid of, and creating a migration plan. What are the next steps? And then I do have for the clients that are on the virtual assistant plan, like the 2nd and 3rd levels, it's included. But if you're a DIY client, it's $359 to do, just a targeted onboarding portion of it.
Thanks.
Mary Sue,
Yes.
hi, wrong person. I taught for about 7 years. I taught marketing automation to Fortune 1000 companies.
Oh, no.
The same type of, and I'm here to review you. No, I just wanted to ask. So I am just finishing startup mode for an online consulting academy, basically. And so I'm moving out of startup mode, and I had a basic automation system set up using ActiveCampaign, which I really recommend to people. It's for the cost per buck. So yeah, sorry, not to shut you down. I haven't looked at yours yet.
That's all right.
But the problem is, once you get it really moving and you have sequences and you have value offers along the way to get people involved, and you're giving them value along the whole string. I've got like 7 sequences, and every other one I give them something. The problem is, at some point, and then they go into a newsletter, but at some point, especially that handoff from LinkedIn into the marketing automation system, you end up being overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed right now. I mean, I have too many leads. I have too many prospects. I have too many people, like 8 to 10 a day coming in off of LinkedIn, getting them transferred over. It's not the physical work, it's the emotional. How do you maintain a personal contact? Do you know what I'm getting at? It feels very unsatisfying because you can put them into this automation string, but at some point you've got this handoff from being personal to now you're just one of the mass.
Right. And so is the issue that you feel like that it just removes that human touch part?
Right. And I don't
Okay.
want to be disconnected and yeah.
Well, I don't know what your actual handoff to becoming a client is, but that to me, you know, having a meeting is one way to incorporate the human touch. Lots of people use
Meeting.
just having a meeting, you know, like just a call with the person. Um, the other is there's a lot of tools like BombBomb, Loom even does this, that you can create a very personalized video to incorporate. I have seen them where you're essentially creating a new video for every single person, which could be a way that you do that.
That sounds like overwhelm again.
That sounds like overwhelm to me, but I would do something that is just, it's personal, it's me, it's a little video. I know exactly where you are in the workflow. So I am talking to you at that moment, you know.
Wow.
I still think that to me is human, but that's a way to incorporate you so that it doesn't all of a sudden go just to email.
Okay. And just an adder here, people ask about how often should you send them out? If you look on Google under something called Ebbinghaus forget curve, which I'll put it in right now in the chat. The Ebbinghaus forget curve is a curve, a psychological curve of how soon people forget. So if you contact people at 1 day out, 3 days out, 7 days out, about 17 days out, and then 30 days out, you're in their memory forever.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, put Ebbinghaus forgetting curve.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, I thought you were going to ask
Google.
like how often should people be sending out emails, which I don't know. I always tell people because they're not sending any out or they're sending very few out, that you should just send more. And you know, a couple a month I think is the minimum, but
yeah. Yep. Thank you.
There's another question in the chat about what's the story of viruses within QR codes?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to look that one up. I haven't heard of QR code viruses.
Oh, that's scary.
Well, it makes sense since everyone's using them now.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yuck.
This was some years ago. Somebody scared me away from them by saying now they're introducing viruses into QR codes. So I'm just really careful. That's all. But I trust Mary Sue.
Yeah. Well, so I want to give Mary Sue just a little bit of a shout out because I have been working with her since, oh, I don't know what, July, August, Mary Sue. It's been a while. And one of the things that I'd like to say, all of us are at this point in our business where we have to sort of figure out what is the highest and best use of our time and how do we actually enable ourselves to grow. And I know that a lot of people get hung up on, well, I only have 100 people on my list. You know, is it really worth it for me to automate? And if that is your question, I'm going to tell you, hell yes. Even if you only have 100 people on your list, it is time for you to automate. When I automated last July, and I first of all, at Mary Sue's suggestion, went to Active Campaign, and I sent out my first newsletter, and I think there was maybe 102 people on my list. Well, since I've started consciously working on my list and sending out things regularly, I have more than doubled my business. My list is now at about 400, which is still, I mean, in the great grand scheme of things, a list of 400 is nothing. It's nothing, right? But it is everything to me and my business. And Ron, to answer your question, I think one of the things that you do is once a month, I offer something that people can come to, a masterclass. And to my list, it's free. And so you don't care about video, but maybe you're interested in Clubhouse. So I'm always offering something that might be of value. I really think it's just inviting people that keeps them involved after they go through things. So you just keep inviting them. If they don't come, it's not something that's for them. But Mary Sue and her team are fantastic. I went with her product because I wanted room to grow, and I don't want to go through this painful process of migration ever again. You know, it has an unlimited learning platform for me to use. So if you've taken one of my classes, I can create a landing page. Everything's right there. All the handouts, all of the recordings. It's really a convenient courtesy. It has so many of the features that I need. I don't know about you guys, but the changes to Eventbrite are enough to make me scream. So being able to control having the payment on my own platform is definitely something that I want to have. And her system uses Stripe, so I can control when I get payouts and how things happen and what the whole user experience is around payments and promo codes. So there's a gajillion reasons for me to use something so that I can get rid of, you know, all the different tools that I have and have everything on one system. So it, it, this is a really tough place to be in your business when you're starting to think about, oh my God, I need to do something to manage all of this. It is a big pain point, but put your big girl pants on or your big guy pants on and do it, because it really is the way to grow.
I think we've got time for one more question. Mike Pelfini had his hand up.
Oh, you're on mute.
I'm using my spacebar trick. Thank you, Judy. I'm trying to think of how to ask this succinctly, because I hear about, I understand the automation gold, and the goal is to be able to do your work. And so, but this is landing to me like a boatload of work to do in addition to the work that I do. And so what can I expect? Let's assume after I've gotten everything set up, which I would imagine requires a tremendous amount of attention, focus, and time, getting everything set up the way I want it to be set up. How much time am I spending after that on the work that I do versus feeding this automation?
That is a great question. I like to break it down so that you're not, because setting up everything all at once, I think, can be really overwhelming, but breaking it down into stages helps so that you start feeling the efficiencies from it. And you, in some ways, you're making time, but there is definitely, if you're doing it yourself for any tool, there is a learning curve. You're probably spending, with any automation, with any all-in-one type solution, you're going to be spending time learning it. I would probably expect 4 hours to 8 hours to just figure it out, but it's best to figure it out if you have a problem you're solving, you know, like setting up your online appointment scheduling and your follow-up system, laying out your sales onboarding process. So having a clear goal makes that much easier. Once you have those pieces set up, your system will need care and attention because your business is likely going to be changing over time. So that's dependent on you. So if you change your workflow, you're going to have to adjust those automations. But if things are running, I mean, they usually run really well and you don't have to go in and fiddle with them. When you're using a hodgepodge of tools and you're connecting it through Zapier, that does require constant fidgeting, I will say. Because I had that, I had Active Campaign, which I do like, but it acts more like a hub. And so I had to connect to other tools and those things were always acting up. So I don't know that I totally answered your question, but I get your pain. That's honestly why I set up my packages the way I did, because a lot of people do need support in building out their automations. That's the hard part. It's not the content building.
Thank you. That was helpful, Mary Sue.
Yeah, and I'm just going to echo what Angela said. I'm still working on learning those tools, but every time I've had a stuck part, I can ask Mary Sue for help. I can go back to the tutorials, I can look at it. And yeah, you are going to spend time in the front end, but on the other side, you now have something that's going to support you and take out some of the stuff that's repetitive. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be doing the great work that we do. And so that's the whole point of automating, not to make it impersonal, but to give you more time for the personal.